Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we have the start of the brand new Ravnica Mixer Drafts format. This is a mixture of several old Ravnica formats. We're going to draft one pack of Guilds of Ravnica, followed by one pack of Ravnica Allegiance, and top it all off with a pack of War of the Spark at the end. So some very powerful cards among all of these sets, a lot of multicolored cards, and it should lead to a pretty interesting draft format. In these kind of mixer events, where you're getting 3 different packs of cards. I have a lot of fun in all of these because you're going to have very unique decks every time around. The individual cards that you're playing with and against are going to change greatly every round. You have 3 sets of cards running around everywhere instead of just one, even if they are all on Ravnica. So with that whole introduction out of the way, let's go ahead and scoop up this mythic rare planeswalker here, Vraska, Golgari Queen, as our pick 1 pack 1. Incredible card here, 4 mana for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. The main ability you're going to be using when you cast her is the -3 to destroy whatever creature your opponent's played so far, and then you just start using that +2, start ticking her up, drawing some cards, sacrificing some lands, and have the loyalty to just use that removal spell ability again. Vraska, an exceptional planeswalker in limited, and we can certainly follow her up with a great black removal spell here, Deadly Visit. 5 mana to destroy a creature and Surveil 2. Surveil allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest on top of your library in any order. We have an excellent start to just any good Golgari deck here. Controlling or aggressive, these 2 cards will be phenomenal for us. There's also a Rhizome Lurcher if we want to go hard into Golgari and super commit with 2 Golgari cards immediately, but this one wants us to have a very high creature count as well, and I do think it's a little bit weaker than the Deadly Visit, although it can be quite a powerful creature for only 4 mana. Other notable cards here are Watcher in the Mist, being an excellent flyer, a 3/4 flyer for 5 that surveils 2, and the Izzet Guildgate. I'm not going to lie, I think that Guildgates and just mana fixing in general will be very high picks in this format. This is a format where we're drafting 3 sets that all have an abnormally high amount of multicolored cards, so pretty much every deck you play with or against will be like at least splashing a 3rd color, potentially just playing all 3 colors straight up. So just taking Guildgates highly when there's not a good card in the pack seems like a pretty good option to me. And here's somewhere I could just take the Dimir Guildgate. We do have a Molder Hulk in here, but that's just a ton of mana for a 6/6, even if you're getting the cost reduction on it. By the time you've cast a Molder Hulk, you're not going to need the land that it brings back from the grave. So just a very expensive 6/6 with no alternative effects like Trample to help it get in. Molder Hulk not as exciting as it looks, and nothing else in here is like powerful enough for me to want to branch into another color, except for like potentially Conclave Guildmage here, maybe branch into white for that, but we could also just scoop up the Dimir Guildgate and stay open to a blue splash later if we need it. I do just really like taking Guildgates massively highly here, so I am going to take that there. Another option there was Urban Utopia. I think that would have been pretty great too. The Urban Utopia, 2 mana for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, so it does replace itself and then taps for whatever color of mana you need. So Urban Utopia solid there too. Ooh, this is going to be a very trying pick here. There's several really great options. We have the Golgari Guildgate, of course, for our Vraska and Deadly Visit we're definitely playing. Our Swarm Guildmage here, the Golgari Guildmage of the format. 2 mana for a 2/2, it can sit there and gain life or give your field menace. 2 pretty great abilities. Hired Poisoner's pretty good, just comes out there on turn 1 and trades with the first thing that attacks you, the first thing you want it to trade with. And Generous Stray, great at triggering Undergrowth, just a 3 mana 1/2, gets out there, draws a card, replaces itself, and gets right into your graveyard with a chump block. So I think all these are awesome. Even Lotleth trying to find Finisher in comparison to the other card. I'm just going to take the Swarm Guildmage here. But I think the second closest pick for me out of that pack was Golgari Guildgate, personally. So pick 5 now. We could take a Glaive of the Guild pack. This is a card that gets stronger and stronger the more Guildgates you are picking up, and I do like picking up Guildgates very highly. That being said, our first 3 cards, we have some premier cards in just green and black. So this is one of the drafts that, at least early on, I'm feeling more into just 2 colors than usual. Often I'll just bounce around for the first few picks and wait to see what's open, but so far we're very into Golgari. So this is a draft I could definitely see just going hard into just green black. We have a Veiled Shade or a Crawl Swarm if that's what we want to do. Nothing super exciting in green or black. Yeah, I'm just going to take the Glaive here. I don't think the green or black cards are great there. They're fine. All right, well, Child of Night's a pretty good 2-drop, 2 mana for a 2/1 lifelinker. Sure, it only has 1 toughness, but in the Golgari decks, you're kind of okay with your stuff dying, and giving this Menace is pretty nice with Glaive of the Guild Pact. We will be giving it Menace, and then we don't care too much about the low toughness, although there's also that Generous Stray, which is a good deal. Also great with Vraska, good sacrificial fodder for anything we need to sacrifice. Crawl Swarm is good. Any creatures you top deck late game can all of a sudden just turn into a 4/1 flyer if you need it. It is very flimsy, only the 1 toughness, pretty easy to kill, but quite a high power flyer, and you can bring it back. So Crawl Swarm is good. Generous Stray is good. I don't think Erstwhile Trooper is good. So Crawl Swarm, Generous Stray, Child of Night, Lothlith Giant, lots of options. I'm just going to fill out the curve with a pretty insignificant looking Generous Stray, but I think just having that good enter the battlefield effect on a nice mid-range creature like that is always a good time. And Rampaging Monument is a card that I think will really shine in the Ravnica Mixer format. Again, Ravnica is absolutely chock full of multicolored spells. We're going to be casting a lot of them, even if we are just 2 colors. And if we do end up splashing a 3rd, we should be putting lots of counters on this. And a 4 mana 3/3 trample, not the worst rate if we don't cast anything else. So Rampaging Monument it is for me out of that pack. And we do get a Rhizome Lurcher nice and late here. This makes our Generous Stray look a lot better because now we have a reason to just get something chump blocking early game. We want to trigger a pretty hefty amount of undergrowth pretty quickly for Rhizome Lurcher to be at its best, but quite a good card here. Burglar Bat is very similar to Generous Stray. It's got that good enter the battlefield effect to just get immediate value, and then you're always cool in the Golgari decks with just chump blocking with it as soon as possible, just to get into your graveyard for your undergrowth effects like Rhizome Lurcher. But I do think the Rhizome Lurcher is better there, and I'll just scoop up another Generous Stray here, don't mind if I do. Now we have the Bartisan Bats, kind of the common version of that 4/1 flyer, just a high power flyer, pretty flimsy, but can get some damage in. We alternatively do have a Veiled Shade. I do like creatures with like mana sink abilities because then they're fine filler on curve. And then if you flood out, you've got something to do. All of a sudden this can attack into or block 5/5, 6/6s, that kind of stuff. I'm going to take the Veiled Shade here. Do like that ability on it. We do have a Dimir Guildgate, so we could actually play a blue card here, so we'll just take the best blue card just in case we do end up splashing blue. None of these are great, but I think Passwall Adept would be the best. 2 mana for a 1/3 is a decent early game blocker, and another good mana sink later in the game, making sure you get some damage in. Wild Ceratok here for kind of the mid-range on the curve, a 4 mana card, or a big game-ending 6/5 that does a bunch of damage when it comes into play, so it does give you a way to damage your opponent even if they have plenty blockers. I will take the Lotleth Giant here over the Ceratok. I think we've got 3 good filler 4 mana cards already. I mean, none of these are filler, these are all excellent. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff happening at 4, not a lot at 7. We have just like straight up removal and just like chump blockers here, so I don't actually really want combat tricks in a Golgari style deck. So I am just going to take the dorky creature there over the combat trick. And here we do wield a Crawl Swarm, so we could play around with that flimsy flyer if we want to. And we even get some decent last picks for us. So here in Pack 2 is where we are going to see why most decks in the format do end up being at least 3 colors. And that's because we started with Golgari in Pack 1. Every guild is 2 colors. And every guild is only in Guilds of Ravnica or Ravnica Allegiance, so there will be no green-black multicolored cards in this pack. There will be green-red multicolored cards and green-blue multicolored cards, but we can't get any more green-black cards here, so we could like splash in a bit of red, or we could splash in a bit of blue if we want to get multicolored cards in this pack, so that's kind of how things go here. That being said, this pack is just weak, period. I don't think there's anything good in here. Mammoth Spider, maybe. Just nice, sturdy defense against flyers. I do think Sunder Shaman is a pretty great card, super aggressive beater, but we're going to need a really good mana base to be able to cast something that costs double red, double green early at all. So I'm just going to take the really easy to cast Mammoth Spider here. Oh yeah, the other thing we consider is in this set there's also Orzhov, which is white-black, so we could be going green-black-white and picking up Orzhov multicolored cards. If we go green-red-black, we can pick up Rakdos cards and Gruul cards, so there's a lot to choose from, even if we do have to kind of move into a third color here. And I don't think we really do yet. We're still seeing good cards. Clear the Stage is solid. -3/-3 for 5 mana isn't a great rate, but if you do have a big creature on the board, something with 4 or more power, being able to return a creature when you do that is a pretty good deal. So that's solid. Gruul Beastmaster also solid. A 4 mana 3/3 whenever it attacks, give another creature +3/+0. You could alternatively haste it out if you're trying to get damage in quickly. I think these are both great in just green or black, so we don't really need to move into the third color yet. We could also just take Footline Fiend. I mean, you can cast that, which is a single black. I'm going to go with the Beastmaster here over the Clear the Stage. I don't think we have too many big creatures. I want a few more before we start playing around with that. So another excellent pack here. We have Bladebrand. I think Bladebrand actually sounds sweet for this deck. We already have 2 Generous Strays, and this is excellent with those, because those are the kind of cards that you put onto the board, and your opponent expects you to just chump block and be fine with it, but all of a sudden, now you're casting a Bladebrand. Now you're actually killing whatever you blocked with the Generous Stray. You can get a really good deal off of that, so I'm just going to take Bladebrand here. Ill-Gotten Inheritance is quite a powerful card too, if you're trying to play the long game. You can even do that big life drain Lava Axe effect, 6 mana sacrifice it, deal 4 to your opponent. So even in aggressive decks, this is pretty good. But I think I'm very excited about the potential Bladebrand plays that we have with our double Generous Stray. So another Mammoth Spider here. A Dead Revels is pretty solid. Return 2 creatures from your grave to your hand, and you could cast this for only 2 mana. That's going to be great in Golgari. We're definitely going to be losing these Generous Strays early on. Hopefully get some more 2-mana creatures to be expendable as well. I think that's it for me, really. Mammoth Spider, Dead Revels. We could also go with the Rakdos Guildgate. We should take Guildgates highly just in case. Maybe move into the red here, taking the Rakdos Guildgate. I think Dead Revels is a good enough card, just a great recursion spell. We'll just scoop that up, and it is possible we are doing just 2 colors here. We'll see. Alright, Solana Wayfinder is a great 2-drop. 2 mana for a 2/1. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Pick a creature or land from among them. Put it on top of your library, so whatever you need at the time. Just set up your draw. Pretty great, and we're low on 2-drops. Oops. Okay, that is not what I wanted to click. I wanted to click the change the view so I could see our 2 mana cards. Yeah, we have 1 2-mana creature, and I'm probably not playing the Glaive. So I really want more 2-mana creatures, and this is a premium one, just a great effect on it. We do have Biogenic Upgrade, which is just a massive game-ending card, but I think we're doing pretty well on ways to close out the game. With Lotleth Giant, Crawl Swarm, Rhizome Lurcher even can be a big creature. Vraska, of course, can close out the game. I think we have good ways to do that. I just want to make sure that we have consistent plays in the early game too, so we don't get just aggroed out too aggressively. And Undercity Scavenger seems like a pretty great card for this deck. This is another great way to sacrifice our early game mediocre creatures. Maybe our Wayfinders on the board, it already got us value off of the Enter effect. Maybe a Generous Strays on the board that already got us value off the Enter the Battlefield effect. Now this Scavenger can be a 4-mana 5/5 and Scry 2 when we play it. So Undercity Scavenger, pretty exciting there. If we did take some Guildgates and wanted to push into red, we could also take a Clan Guildmage or a Macabre Mockery. Some cool options for the 3-color version we could have been drafting right now, but pretty happy to just take the whatever card I just took. I already forgot its name. Undercity Scavenger. And now I'm very happy to take Soroform Hybrid. Sure, I was very excited about Bladebrand. We do have at least one, and Bladebrand is still an exciting card, but Soroform Hybrid is just an excellent 2-mana creature. It's a 2-mana 2/2 in the early game when you need it to get in there, trade off with something and help you survive, and then late game when you hit your 6 mana, if you just flood out, now it's also your 6 mana 6/6. So there's just kind of like a flip card, kind of a modal card there in that way where it's great early game and great late game. So I'm very happy to see another Soroform Hybrid. I think this card is just excellent. If you're in a Ravnica Mixer draft and you're drafting a green deck, just always take these Soroform Hybrids pretty highly. They're just a fantastic card, always a good time. So pick 9 here. We have 20 cards here in just green and black. We are incredibly close to being able to have a full 23 card Golgari deck here without needing to splash any other colors. So I'm just going to stick to it and take this Debtor's Transport over one of the red cards trying to splash. And yeah, we'll just cut our colors here. Actually, Skatewing Spy is very good. 4 mana for a 2/3. It is very slow, but all of your creatures with counters on them now have flying, and if you adapt it, it's a 4/5 flyer. Steeple Creeper is very unexciting. I'm not going to play it unless we have blue, because it's just low toughness for the cost. Sure, I'll take the Skatewing Spy there. I will speculate on that pick. We do already have one blue Guildgate, so... 2 mana 2/2 in the early game when you need it to get in there, trade off with something and help you survive, and then late game when you hit your 6 mana, if you just flood out, now it's also your 6 mana 6/6. So there's just kind of like a flip card, kind of a modal card there in that way where it's great early game and great late game. So I'm very happy to just take the whatever card I just took. I already forgot its name. Undercity Scavenger. I'm still somewhat open to being 3-color here, but preferably we can just have a really good mana base and just stick to just 2 colors by doing so. Well, more guild gates just in case. And we even wheel the biogenic upgrade. All right, well, now we have another big finisher. This is sorcery speed, so it doesn't really surprise your opponent, but all of a sudden putting 6 +1/+1 counters on your cards, you could like throw 3 counters on one of your flyers and then double them, and then bam, now you're attacking for 10 with a Crawl Swarm. Like, biogenic upgrade can really close out a game, especially if you have anything else that puts +1/+1 counters on your creatures. So it is going to be excellent with like the Sora form hybrids that we have, or the Skatewing Spy if we do go down that route. So what do we have in just green or black here? I do really like Tidebearer Giant. A 6-mana 4/5 when it enters the battlefield, draw a card and lose a life. It's like a really big, beefy version of the Generous Stray. Like, this is a Generous Stray that can also just close out a game and kill your opponent, so I'm a very big fan of that. Alternatively, we can try to splash in white here for Sorin, which is a super powerful, super cool planeswalker. That's definitely an option, but we don't have any black-white or green-white guild gates or anything like that. We don't have any mana fixing yet either. So as good as Sorin could be, I'm just going to stay consistent here, stick with our green-black deck, but I don't think you can go that wrong just trying to take the big, splashy, powerful multicolored card there. If you're excited by it, you do you. So here we have a couple excellent commons. We have Spark Harvest. 1 mana to destroy a creature or planeswalker if we sacrifice something. We do have a couple expendable cards to sacrifice. Otherwise, just 5 mana to destroy a creature or planeswalker. Both has that card excellent. Or Spark Reaper here. I think Spark Reaper is really good too. Gives us a great way to use our little creatures later in the game. Sacrifice them to gain a life, draw a card. Both of these cards are absolutely phenomenal, but I will go ahead and take the removal first. Take the Spark Harvest first. I think this is a pretty bomb-heavy format. All of the Ravnica sets have some pretty powerful multicolored rares and stuff, so we'll go ahead and take the Spark Harvest there. And ooh, double up on the Vraskas? I don't think Vraska Swarm's Eminence is actually that powerful. She is pretty annoying. So 4 mana for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. She does spit out 2 1/1 Death Touchers, so she's fine. She's solid. If those Death Touchers hit your opponent, they do get counters on them. But I think Tidebearer Giant is excellent. Band Together also excellent. 2 of your creatures deal damage equal to their power to another creature. They don't even put themselves in harm's way. So just great removal stuff going on here. Great removal, another great late game card. Yeah, this pack is just excellent for us. I'd love to pick up all 3, but I can't, so I'm just going to take Vraska. I don't think that's actually the right pick. I think Tidebearer Giant or Band Together would both probably be marginally better, but it is the coolest pick, so we'll go with that. We already have more than enough cards to fill out the deck. Now we're just trying to make it a little better. And I am still looking for good early game plays. We don't have a lot going on there, and we have a ton at like 4 and up. So here I think I'm going to take Eternal Taskmaster. This is a 2 mana 2/3. It enters the battlefield tapped, but for that, you're getting a creature that has high power toughness for its mana cost and potentially returns more creatures from your grave to hand with that 3 mana ability. Pretty great effect on that creature there. We have Pollen Bright Druid here. 2 mana for a 2/2 at worst is fine. And at best, sometimes maybe we'll be able to proliferate with a couple of Vraskas on the board. That would be very exciting. So we'll get a Pollen Bright Druid in here. And yeah, that gives us more cards that also have +1/+1 counters, so more cards to combo with like Biogenic Upgrade if we do keep that in as a finisher. So we have New Horizons, but we're just 2 colors, so we don't really need that mana fixing, but I think this is going to be a pretty nice card in this format to keep an eye on. We just have like Charity Extractor for an annoying big lifelinker, or Banehound for an annoying small lifelinker. I'm probably going to cut either of those just because I have a ton of 4 mana stuff, and I don't think Banehound is that high impact. So I'm probably not keeping anything I take here. I'll just take a New Horizons, I guess, because we have a lot of big, expensive stuff, so maybe a little bit of ramp would be fine. So Bond of Flourishing, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put a permanent from among them into your hand, gain 3. So 2 mana, draw a land, gain 3 life. That's the worst case scenario, and if you have a lot of creatures, it's good. Yeah, we have 20 creatures. The odds of not hitting a land or a creature on that are pretty low, so let's just grab Bond of Flourishing. Nice little draw a creature or land, gain a couple life. Little filler draw spell there. Price of Betrayal is just too specific to be playable, but I don't like playing discard spells, so I'm just going to take uncommons for Vault Progress at this point mostly. I will not be main decking a Return to Nature, so again, I'll just slap an uncommon in here for Vault Progress. But we get to make some good adjustments to this deck, and you know, as multicolored as the format is, we did end up in just a 2-color deck, and no respect for the Tidebearer Giant. Well, I'll scoop that right up if nobody else wants it. I will slam it on in here. More than happy to take that. Bond of Flourishing does seem very filler to me, so I think I am cutting it here. We have a lot at 4 mana, definitely cutting Seratok. Not a lot at 3. We could play that Iron Bully just to have more 3 mana cards. Even out the curve a little more. I think we're doing pretty well on removal spells here. We have a Deadly Visit, a Vraska, a Spark Harvest, Bladebrand, sort of. We're doing pretty good on just incremental value as well. Our Generous Strays draw a card when we play them. Our Bladebrand draws a card. Dead Revels brings 2 cards back from our grave. Tidebearer Giants draw cards. Like, I think we even have more card draw than we even need, so I'm kind of okay cutting a Dead Revels here. Because I do need to cut 2 more cards, and I do want a high creature count to help with Undergrowth. Ideally, a high 2 and 3 mana creature count, which is looking pretty good here. Not a ton at 3, but plenty at 2 to get that started. So I think I'm going to cut a Dead Revels and maybe even a Lotleth Giant, because I think we've got a lot going on, helping us finish games as well, helping close out games. I guess we could cut the Biogenic Upgrade instead, leave the creature finisher in instead of the spell finisher, but this is a really fun way to close out a game. Just getting a boatload of counters everywhere and bashing in. Really good card with like Rampaging Monument here. I don't actually love the Crawl Swarm, which I guess my draft pod agreed with. We did get the Crawl Swarm like second from the last card at the end of the pack. Bond of Revival is fun, but pretty expensive. Could throw Iron Bully in to have more 3 mana cards again, just work on that curve. That makes Biogenic Upgrade do more stuff also, so yeah, I'm going to cut the Lotleth Giant here. And then we have a decent amount of removal and a flyer, the Crawl Swarm, so I think we can cut Mammoth Spider, although also just being a 3/5 on the ground makes it quite good at blocking, so really either way is quite nice there. Yeah, we have a lot of late game power here, even without the Lotleth Giant. We have double Tidebearer Giant, a big old 4/5 that draws us a card, 2 Sauroform hybrids that become 6/6s. We of course have the Vraskas, which are pretty huge. Biogenic Upgrade to close the game out. So I'm a big fan of this deck. We have a lot going on in the early game, and those cards also just double as late game finishers, a good amount of them. This deck looks very exciting to me, and I was going to say, and let's get into the gameplay, but I still have to cut that one more card here. I think it is going to be one of the 5 drops for me, because I have just said I have a lot of great stuff going on later on in the game, I think, here. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut the Mammoth Spider over the Crawl Swarm, but I'm really not sure about this. This card is just so flimsy, so really great on the aggressive, like finishing your opponent off, but also super, super bad when you need to block stuff and try to survive. But hopefully we've got that all covered by all this stuff. Looking more for the finisher kind of flyer here. All right, so let's give this deck a name and head into some gameplay. Medusers. I don't even know if that's how to spell Medusa wrong. It's Medusa like that, right? Medusers. That's going to be the name. You're just going to have to accept that into your life. That's what I've decided on. Double Vraska. The snake hair ladies. We're going to roll with it. Heading into round 1 now. Alright, we are on the play. We've got a 2-drop, a 3-drop. We can set up our draws, make sure that the Wayfinder hits a land so we can help get to these 5-6 mana cards. Generous Stay draws us another card. We don't have, like, action here. Like, we don't have a game plan for closing out this game. I guess it's just draw another card. Draw another creature card, hopefully. Because other than that, these creatures are quite mediocre here. Alright, Rhizome Lurcher, Generous Stray here. Honestly, if I show our opponent Rhizome Lurcher, just none of our creatures are going to die early game, so this is just going to be a 2-2 for 4 mana, so... honestly think I'm just going to take another Generous Stray here. Draw our Undergrowth cards later in the game. Eternal Taskmaster from our opponent. The good old 2-3 that can bring back cards from the graveyard whenever it sends in. So we could double block if they send in, or I could just attack for 2 and start getting on the aggressive here. We have an Undercity Scavenger next turn, so I'm pretty pumped about that. Start getting aggressive, so next turn we play a 5-5, sacrificing the Generous Stray and scrying a couple cards. Just start beating in with some massive creatures here. So black, white, and blue from our opponent. They have access to Orzhov, Azorius, and Dimir cards. And they cast nothing this turn, so they could have a counterspell here for blue and 2. I don't remember the counterspells in the format well, plus you're dealing with 3 sets worth of cards, so it is a lot harder to play around specific stuff. I think if they have the counterspell, they have the counterspell. I gotta just curve out as well as I can here. See what we have. See what we have from our opponent. And if they do counter the Scavenger, then Biogenic Upgrade, our other big later cards, can resolve more likely. Alright, so the Scry 2, I like both of these cards. We have 5 mana already. Crawl Swarm, I think, even more exciting than the Monument here. We just don't have any multicolored cards to cast, so it's just a 4 mana 3-3 trample. But that's definitely better than a land. Better than drawing blind, I think. So I am still going to keep it. Just keep all this stuff so we still have plays throughout this game. And the Rampaging Monument is very good with Biogenic Upgrade, so there is that to consider. Although we already have plenty of action with that, with an Undercity Scavenger having counters on it. So the upgrade, because it doubles the counters on your creatures, if that creature already has counters, you just get a ton more counters on this if you have creatures on the board that have counters on them. So say I distribute the 3 counters, if I have like a Scavenger and a Monument out, I could just put 1 counter on Wayfinder, Scavenger, and Monument, and then it doubles the counters on them. So that'd be another counter there, 3 more counters there, and 4 more counters on Monument. Upgrade just really good with creatures with counters on them. Anyways, our opponent did go ahead and bring to trial our 5-5 there, just exile that. So we're going to go ahead and play our 4-1 flyer now. Get another way to start attacking in here. Alright, well, definitely a control deck here. We've seen them cast Bring to Trial and just sit here with 5 mana untapped. So we'll see what they're planning on here. Let's just attack with Crawl Swarm and see what they use to kill it. Something like a Summary Judgment or something. That deals 3 damage to a tapped creature at instant speed. Fairy Duelist. That will be a trade. They will trade with each other. So that is fine. So just play a flyer to trade off with our flyer. Could put it back to our hand if we discard this Generous Stray here and then recast it next turn, but that is playing pretty slowly. I think I'm just going to slam down the Monument for now. Get something that can attack in next turn. Even if they play a better creature, we can just go ahead and give it a nice visit. This guy's having a good time. He's got his coffee and a little note there. Daviel's Shadow Fugue. Well, that's annoying. We don't have the second black for visit, I guess, technically. We'll definitely get rid of Generous Stray. The other is harder to choose here. Upgrade is going to be massive if we cast it, but Deadly Visit's pretty big, getting rid of one of their cards and setting up another draw. But we need to draw specifically a swamp for that, whereas if we draw any land, we'll be casting Upgrade. I think Deadly Visit's the slightly better card to cast in this game, but it's slightly less likely that we do cast it, so I think I'll discard Deadly Visit. And Pollen Bright Druid is the draw. For biogenic upgrade purposes, we could throw a +1/+1 counter onto Wayfinder. We could also attack with both creatures if we do that. We could also throw Swarm back into our hand. I think I'm more excited to just get in here. Sacrifice a creature. Well, 3/2 weaker than a 3/3. We will sacrifice that one. So they could very much be like a Clear the Mind style control deck. Clear the Mind was a card in Ravnica Allegiance. That was a 3-mana sorcery. You could shuffle your graveyard back into your library and draw a card. So you could just run a deck with a ton of removal and interaction. And then you would just keep shuffling your graveyard back in, so you'd always have removal. They could be playing that kind of deck here. Of course, the Taskmaster is going off now. They do have a Fairy Duelist in grave, so they can get that back. But Blade Juggler is the play here. Draw a card and lose a life when they cast that. Well, 1 mana off from activating Sora Form Hybrid, so I'm more excited to get that down than discard a card for the Crawl Swarm. I will say, I am very much not a fan of how Crawl Swarm has performed this game. A Mammoth Spider would have done just a lot more. A 3/5 would have been a lot harder for them to kill with something like a Fairy Duelist, and so it would just still be around at this point, and they wouldn't be attacking in well at all. We'd always be able to bash in with that thing if we wanted to, just because it's so big. So, not so pumped about the Crawl Swarm here. Card has not super done its job for us. So, 6th mana for Biogenic Upgrade or for the upgrade on the Hybrid. I'd rather upgrade the Hybrid first. They're at 14 and we're at 13. We do need to worry about blocking a little bit here, but not that bad. They have 5 damage on board, 6 once they have Duelist out. I think if we just attack with both of these, we have lethal in 2 turns with Upgrade pretty easily. I guess with Duelist's effect, they could double block the Monument, but if they double block the Monument, then the Hybrid all gets in. They can also just block the Monument and use Duelist so no creature dies. Alright, so they're just going to use Duelist so no creature dies. So actually, I don't think I should have attacked with Monument in hindsight because we know they had Fairy Duelist. Because if they double blocked, I think that would actually be pretty bad for me. But luckily they just decided not to here. So I will take it. I think that was definitely a misplay on my part. Sure, I do hit them for 6, but the Hybrid doesn't have Trample or anything, so it's not that likely to kill them with the upgrade. Alright, so here's where I get to show how bonkers Upgrade can be if they don't counter it. Because we're going to put 2 counters on Monument, 1 on Hybrid, and then double the counters. That means Monument will have 5 counters, and then we'll double it, so it'll be 10 counters. And then Hybrid will have 5 counters, and we'll double it, so it'll be 10 counters there as well. So we'll have a 10-10 Trample. I'm sorry. Yeah, a 10-10 Trample and a 12-12, I believe. If this doesn't get countered. We could alternatively also put counters on the Druid and make that a 3/3, but I'm just super pumped about this whole thing we got going on here. If we chose to make the Druid a 3/3, the Monument would only be an 8/8. Because it would have one less counter before it doubles. So 2 less counters total. Oh, can they kill the Monument here? They went for a double block. They're changing their mind. Oh, they have to double block to survive because of Trample. Yeah, Monument with Biogenic Upgrade. I am very excited about that in the deck. Not super excited about the Crawl Swarm. Definitely going to make some adjustments between rounds if I do remember to do that. So they are down to 3. Keep this in hand in case they have more discard spells and somehow survive all this on board. Looks like the concession from our opponent. The gigantic Biogenic Upgrade will get there. They did not have any counter spells that we saw. It's definitely nice because I was worried about that the whole time. Always got to be a slight concern when you're playing against blue. So let's make a little adjustment here. I do think Crawl Swarm was super bad in that matchup. It could be really good in other matchups. There are going to be decks that just like don't have flyers, but just a 3/5 body is pretty significant for 5, so we'll throw the Mammoth Spider back in instead. Maybe we'll change it around again. Maybe Mammoth Spider will perform really poorly. Just keep bouncing around the deck list, but I feel good about the Spider for now. All right, pretty great hand. We have a turn 2 play, Sauroform Hybrid, a turn 3 play, Generous Stray, and a turn 4 Vraska. The weaker Vraska, but a Vraska nonetheless, a powerful card regardless. And we do draw into a Blade Brand. That will be excellent with our Generous Stray. Our opponent starts with a Boros Guildgate and an Izzet Guildgate. Another thing to consider when you're drafting this format is that there are some cards that benefit off having a ton of Guildgates, like that Cleave that we got, but that Cleave is one of the weaker ones. The better ones are in Ravnica Allegiance. There's a Gates Ablaze that deals a damage to everything equal to the number of gates you control. That is excellent in like a 5-color gates deck. There's also like a big old flyer that's cheaper for each gate you have, a big Colossus that's cheaper for each gate you have, a bunch of stuff like that. So you can also definitely try to go 5 colors in this format by taking and drafting gates incredibly highly. So that is something to consider as well. If you're just trying to have a good time, try to go with the 5-color deck. It can work. So, Fairy Duelist into Thunder Drake is what's going on from our opponent. A bunch of flying stuff. We have drawn our other Vraska, although it's not a great card on this board state. They have a 4-mana flyer out, so we won't be able to kill that flyer with our -3 on Vraska. So, Vraska's not going to be awesome until we can deal with that Thunder Drake. The only way I can see right now that we could definitely deal with it is a Blade Brand, but do I want to trade my hybrid into it with a Blade Brand? Not really, so I think I just attack with Generous Stray, and then I don't really have any blocks set up. Alternatively, I could cast Pollen Bright Druid, put a +1/+1 counter on the hybrid, and then I can attack both. Yeah, and that looks a little less suspicious. We could hold on to the Druid to set up a big Proliferate play with our Planeswalkers. However, if we did that, then we wouldn't curve out as well this turn, as well as this made it really not that suspicious that we were just going for an all-out attack here. So the one issue with doing that is that the way Adapt works, if it has +1/+1 counters on it at all, we can't adapt it. So now we can't adapt our hybrid later, but we do have other stuff to play later in the game here, Double Vraska and Spark Harvest. So that was one thing I did not mention to consider when doing that play, is now we can't turn this into a 6/6. It has a +1/+1 counter on it, so we are shutting off its ability to just get more aggressive and get that attack in there. But with the way our hand looks, I'm super cool with it, especially drawing a second hybrid. That was just an excellent draw for us. So I think I'm just going to cast our Mythic Vraska and get rid of their Fairy Duelist here, because they do have red mana off of their guild gates, but they look to be heavy into blue as their main color, so I don't expect any haste creatures, and even if they do have haste creatures, we do have a 1/1 to chump block here, make sure Vraska survives at least another turn for some value. Ooh, Goblin Cratermaker, that does not damage Planeswalkers, correct? Yes, it only damages creatures, luckily. That would have been a bad time if that could shoot our Vraska off. So now we do have the 6 mana for a Tidebearer Giant, the 6 mana to adapt our other hybrid after we cast it. Do we want to sacrifice a land? Or do we want to sacrifice a Pollenbright Druid? I really want to protect Vraska here, so I think I just casted big old Tidebearer Giants. Really good way to block their stuff here. Ooh, Disdainful Stroke. There is the first counterspell we've seen. So, in order for Vraska to not die, we need to have both these creatures to block. I guess we can +2 Vraska. So she'll be at 3 loyalty. They have to hit with both to kill her. Yeah, we could still attack with hybrid if we want. Let's just see what we draw here. I am going to pop a land at this point. Alright, we do hit another land, so we'll still have 6 mana available. So, and they have a Crater Maker that can kill our Druid, but if they use the Crater Maker to kill our Druid, it'll be dead, so they'll only hit Vraska for 1. They could tap the Druid with the Law Reinforcement and then hit Vraska for 2. She still survives at 1 and we can keep drawing cards off of her, but we can't -3 her. The -3 is really good. I think I'm cool to play it defensively here and just hold off rather than attack with hybrid. Even though we have a good attack for it on board in terms of our creature's power and toughness against theirs, we can just like kill their Crater Maker on the attack, but let's defend Vraska here, I think. Get some spicy value off of her. So our spells that target Sphinx of Nuprov cost 2 more to cast. So if I want to cast a Spark Harvest on that, it will take 6 mana, or 7 mana, not 5. So we actually don't have enough mana to kill that. Unless we sacrifice something to Spark Harvest, we'd have to sacrifice the hybrid to do it. I don't have the mana to cast Vraska and Spark Harvest. That would be so good. Because again, it'll cost 3 mana to cast this, even if we sacrifice a creature if we're targeting the Sphinx. So I guess we bite the bullet with Vraska, let her just be a 3-for-1, kill 2 of their creatures and draw a card is basically what she got us here. Because she's gonna die. Unless we sacrifice the hybrid and spend a ton of mana to kill that, and then she'll still take 3 and go to 2 loyalty after going to 5 here. So, yeah, just get good value here, kill the Crater Maker. And we'll plan on killing the Sphinx of Nuprov with our Spark Harvest when we hit 1 more mana. But for now, we can take 4 damage in the sky for a while. They only have 1 card left in their hand. That's pretty fine. Alright, so they don't want to trade. Now we'll spend all of our mana, get a Monument out, and a Hybrid out. We don't want to play the other Vraska, because obviously then it'll just snipe that one. Alright, so the Sphinx is hitting us for 4 here. And a Wish Coin Crab is the play, a 2/5. That's it. That's the text. Alright, we drew the mana for Spark Harvest, so let's go for it. 1 card in their hand. So they tap down one of our 3/3s, but the other one gets in, so we're still hitting them for 3 a turn. And then, of course, we can adapt the hybrid next turn. We have a 6/6. They'll start tapping that one. I guess we don't get in for 3 this turn, because obviously the 2/2 doesn't attack in here. Miscalculated. But we do get in next turn. They tap our 6/6 and both 3/3s attack, one of them gets in. Because the adaptability is an instant speed effect, we don't even have to spend it here because they know we could just spend it if they let it not be blocked. So because adapt is instant speed, we get to just keep threatening that we use this, and then we don't actually have to use it because they'll keep tapping it down. So we get to spend all our mana on Vraska and Wayfinder here, which would be nice. Actually should have cast Vraska first. That would have been 1 more damage to our opponent, potentially. But I am forgetting about a lot of the card text here. These are cards I haven't played with in a while. Ooh, Rhizome Lurcher. get just a 5/5 straight up. I think a 5/5 straight up is going to be a little better than a 5/5 that requires us to sacrifice a creature. The Undercity Scavenger that went to the bottom. All right. Oh yeah, I guess if I had cast the Vraska pre-combat, we couldn't threaten Hybrid's ability anymore. So we're going to do the same thing. We're not going to cast anything pre-combat. That way they tap down the Hybrid. Because yeah, otherwise we obviously can't use the Hybrid's ability. What happens if they block the 2/1? They take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They take lethal if they block the 2/1, so send that in as well. Get 2 extra damage in there this turn. And at this point, the only thing I'm really worried about is a board wipe. They are in 3 colors. They could have a red board wipe, a white board wipe. I don't think there's any blue board wipes in this format, so just in case, we'll hold on to that Lurcher, and our opponent does scoop them up there. Yeah, we have a dramatic amount of overkill on the board at that point. All right, so 2-0 now for the double Vraska deck. Having a very great time with it for our first Ravnica Mixer Draft here. This is going to be a really fun format. I do really like Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Allegiance, and War of the Spark drafts, and shoving them all together to create something unique and heavily multicolored seems pretty cool to me. It's been pretty neat so far for sure. So see if we can't keep this win streak up heading into round 3. I think we do have some of the powerhouse bombs to do so. We've got great removal to go with it and a decent curve. I think we've got a lot of good stuff going for our deck, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll keep at it here. Another hand with our Mythic Vraska in it. Easy keep here. Turn 2 plays into turn 4 Vraska. Our opponent plays a Boros Guildgate turn 1, and then an Orzhov Guildgate turn 2. So at least red, white, and black from our opponent. We'll be playing our Eternal Taskmaster first, so we get a creature with better power toughness here in case they play like a 2/2 or something. This one's just better to attack in with. It's going to be a long time before we have the mana up to use any Guild Mage abilities. So just play the Taskmaster there. And making the most of our mana, I'm going to cast Generous Stray and draw a card here. If we hit another green source, we could, and we do, we could go for Guild Mage and Hybrid next turn. I think that'll be the play if they don't play anything big. If they play something we need to deal with, then we just play Vraska and deal with it. So excellent draws starting off this game. A very fine, aggressive start for us. And Urban Utopia from our opponent, so they could very well be 4, even 5 colors. A bunch of Guildgates, Urban Utopia, and Mano Geode, all able to produce multiple colors of mana. So I think I am curving out with creatures here for sure. Hit for 3 and then slam down a couple more creatures. Somebody just knocked on my door, so I will have to be right back. I'm going to go ahead and cast all my spells for this turn, and then I will go ahead and mute myself and just pass through my opponent's turn. Hopefully that will be just enough time to go check on that. Alright, so main phase 2 here, we're going to double up our spells. Cast the most aggressive, powerful creatures face value, so Hybrid, Taskmaster, pass turn. My apologies about that, and big apologies to my opponent here. Not trying to slow play or anything. We're just going to go straight into combat. Send in the squad. I'm going to try to play real fast this turn to speed things up. Just keep playing creatures. Vraska does not do much here. She does draw us more cards to keep us fueled, but we've got the fuel. We have a turn 6 play for sure of Tidebearer Giant and a turn 6 play of Biogenic Upgrade. So our opponent is definitely the 5-color Guildgate control deck, but we can certainly play against that. Ashiok is an issue. That is a scary card. That can mill 20 cards all by itself if it goes off the whole way. But we can just Vraska and destroy Ashiok here. And then we've got plenty of action still left over after that Gates Ablaze there. So that is the big Guildgate sweeper card I was talking about that makes these 5-color decks viable. But luckily for us, our deck is just so good we've got gas afterwards. We've also drawn very well, to be honest. So Tidebearer Giant here and draw a card off of Vraska because we have plenty of lands. So we'll sacrifice one there. Just have tons more fuel even after the board wipe from our opponent. Alright, destroy that, sure. Opponent grabs another land. We hit a Mammoth Spider. That'll be great here.
Its pain is our gain.
And another land for us. So what have they exiled? What were the 4 they milled? Not sure which 4 were the cards they milled. Oh, I guess it was probably this. Soraform, Tidebearer, land there. And these were what was already in our graveyard from Gates Ablaze. Not bad. We definitely still have some more creatures in the deck, and Biogenic Upgrade is going to make any creature we have on board big enough to finish off the game. So feeling pretty good here with Vraska out to just keep us drawing 2 cards a turn. Not really going to destroy their 0/3 here, or their mana geode. They have tons of lands, so just sacrifice the land again. So 3 mana for a Generous Stray or 5 mana for a Mammoth Spider is the question. I think we go 5 mana for the Mammoth Spider so we can start attacking in more quickly. Although if we hit a creature on top, then Generous Stray would be the more aggressive play, but that requires specific top decks, so we'll just go with the Mammoth Spider here. The play that is stronger at face value, rather than the one that's a little bit based on what we draw. So our opponent's deck is really cool. I expect they're playing like a Clear the Mind or 2 that I was talking about, that shuffles their graveyard back into their library and draws a card. If they've got some Clear the Minds, then this game is not over. They still have the potential. Finale of Revelation. Oh boy. Alright. Yeah, opponent's deck is certainly the nuts. This is the kind of 5-color deck you can very much draft in this format. So that does have me worried. So they've drawn multiple cards now, so if they do have the Clear the Minds to go with all this stuff, they can shuffle that grave back in and really get going. So I could haste out a Beastmaster, but hasting it out's not going to get any damage in unless I kill the barrier. Beastmaster Generous Stray can definitely like kill them next turn. I think I'm going to cast Generous Stray first, see what happens here. Draw a Wayfinder. Set up our draw. If it's a 2 mana or less creature, draw into it off of Vraska immediately. Haste out the Beastmaster next turn or Biogenic Upgrade to try to win. Alright, none of these are 2 mana or less creatures. So that does kind of blow up in my face if that is the top decks. And Ashiok's actually really good against our deck because it did exile our graveyard, so our Rhizome Lurcher is just not impressive. It's just a 3/3. I would almost just rather draw blind here.
Is our gain.
Okay, so it is another land. So we will pass turn here. We do need to get Vraska to 9 loyalty if we want to try to close the game out with her ultimates. Sphinx's Insight, draw 2, gain 2. Very nice 5-color control deck from our opponent. I'm just pumped for everything going on here. We might lose this game, and if so, just wow. Yeah, Angrass Rampage here. Make us sacrifice a Planeswalker there, get rid of Vraska. That was the big threat here. Rampaging Monument with Biogenic Upgrade, though. We've seen how big that can be. That can very well close out the game. 7 mana here. We can't cast both Beastmaster and Monument here, so I don't think we're attacking this turn then. We just cast the Monument. If they can't kill the Monument, we can go for that next turn. Discovery, Surveil 2, then draw a card. I would expect, based on how the drafts have gone so far, Clear the Mines, I think, probably go pretty late, so I would count on them having at least one Clear the Mind to shuffle the graveyard back in, and a Clear the Mind would just be like a straight-up win at this point.
With thoughtfulness before action.
Guarantees they don't mill themselves and make sure their deck is just nothing but gas from that point on. Although, yeah, when you're in all 5 colors, this is, yeah, just nothing but gas here. Now they exile the Rampaging Monument. Well, this is gonna be a loss here, I'm pretty sure. But first loss of the draft. This is the kind of deck that I'm happy to have lost to, because this was just cool to see. Just gonna get some counters on stuff to make the Biogenic Upgrade more impactful.
Hone your prowess.
Our set grabs Mephitic Vapors to kill our Wayfinder, and they Surveil 2. Two to the graveyard. Adapt the Shark to Crab to tap something down for a turn. So Upgrade cannot find lethal, unfortunately. I wish it could, because that would be hilarious. Because Spark Harvest plus Upgrade, we could have cleared the board if they didn't have a Gyre Engineer. But it can still be pretty big here. Make a gigantic menace creature to start slapping in with. 3 counters, so it'll have 4 counters. Double it up, that would be 8 counters. It's a 9/9 menace. We could also spread the counters around, put 2 on Bully, 1 on Stray. The 1 on Stray makes it a 2/3, which will then make it a 3/4. 3/4 attacks in because they only have 2 toughness. Yeah. Make sure every one of our creatures is big enough to be a threat on its own, but still stack up mostly on the menace creature, so that can likely find a way to finish our opponent. Our board state is bigger than theirs. We're both playing off the top now. They're down to 7 cards in library, but again, I expect them to have a Clear the Mind. Chamber Sentry, oh dear. They can remove all the counters on it to throw damage wherever they want, and then they can bring it back from their grave to their hand for Wooburg. If we kill that and attack all, they double block here. They take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They don't immediately die if we kill that, but I think that's our only real play here. Because it slows them down enough that that can't stop us. Because then they can recast it next turn, but it doesn't have haste. So they just throw it back in their hand, recast it next turn. I guess they could survive the Menacer if they block like this. And not have to double block there. So yeah, that probably stopped more damage. I did not do the math. Or at least cleared out one of our creatures while they did the block. Just to strike off the top! We're only dealing 3 damage now. So they get the Chamber Sentry out. That's just going to be it for us, isn't it? We're only attacking for 3. They block with the Chamber Sentry? Well, we still get to find out if they have a Clear the Mind or not. Because I guess if they don't, they do just lose. But no, now Chamber Sentry just takes it over. They just kill Beastmaster with Chamber Sentry, then bring it back to their hand. recast it, so they have a blocker. They can only kill one of these two if I just cast this and don't sacrifice. So I cast this, it goes to their turn. They kill one, but they have enough mana to spend 5, kill one, spend 5, bring it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They don't have enough mana to spend 5 to kill one, 5 to bring it back, and 5 to cast it. So they could spend 3 to kill one, but then the other one would get in. Because it wouldn't be in the grave, they couldn't bring it back to hand. So yeah, I think we just cast this and don't sacrifice. And don't attack. Alright, this is a wild game. Entirely thanks to our opponent's deck. This has been an exciting match. I'm just pumped to know this kind of stuff is possible in this format. Oh yeah, there's Guild Summit. They could tap any number of gates to draw any number of cards. They chose not to draw any, so they must not have a Clear the Mind to shuffle their graveyard back into their library. This could come to mill here. So, unfortunately, the Chamber Sentry still keeps this locked down, but hopefully it's slow enough that it doesn't kill us here. Because, yeah, if we attack both, they block one, shoot the other for 3 damage. They've stopped all of the damage, and this goes to the grave. They put it back into the hand, cast it as a 5/5 next turn. Then we're left with a 3/3 on the board. I guess that would give it Summoning Sickness if we do that attack, because our board's going to die either way, right? I guess it's the same no matter what we do, because if we just pass here, they're probably the most likely to spend all 5. That way it does go to the grave, and they can just put it back in their hand, because if they choose to just spend 3, it'll be a 2/2 sitting on the board, and that's not enough damage to kill the next creature. So I think if we just pass here, they're going to shoot it, bring back to hand, and if we attack, they're going to block, shoot, bring it back to hand, and take 0 damage either way. So it's kind of nebulous here what we do, I think. I don't think this matters. But I don't know. I guess we'll force them to do it. It's kind of whatever. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't know what happened to my brain. My brain just farted the whole time. This actually kills both creatures. Oh wait, no it doesn't. No it doesn't. I was right. Alright. I was concerned. I was like, wait a sec. This kills both creatures. No, because it's 5 damage split between these two however they want. And it's 6 toughness, so it doesn't kill both. This does exactly what I said it does, where it locks them into making that specific play. But yeah, because it removes the counters to do the damage, it's not like they can do 3 damage to one and still block the other with a 5/5 body. They could block the other with a 2/2 body, but... yeah, so Solana Wayfinder here, 3 cards left in their library. Deadly visits the draw, slow them down again with Chamber Sentry. Look at our top 2 now. And that'll kill the Wayfinder too, because they've got to block it or go to 1 life. So Surveil 2, Pollenbright Druid, and Vraska. Vraska's great. Multiple creatures here. Pollenbright Druid also good, just any creature here is good. We don't immediately draw either of these, but yeah, these are both good draws. Take Vraska first, I guess, so we might be able to proliferate onto her. Attack with Scavenger, put them to 1, or kill the Wayfinder. Put them to 1 it is. They understand they need to find a way to close this game out in 3 turns, and they're not going to be able to do that if they don't have power on their board to block with. I mean, to attack with. Oh, wow, this is wild. 2 cards left in their library. The Chamber Sentry's back, and they're putting me down to 16. They're going to go for the Chamber Sentry kill potentially here. We've got the Vraska from multiple creatures, so we're going to have the blockers to survive.
Step Pirates and I get along because we're both cutthroats.
1 card left in their library, 2 turns to live for our opponent. And 5 damage to the dome it is. I haven't done the math, but maybe our opponent has. Can they do it fast enough? Do they have the 5 mana to recast the Sentry here? I think if they have the full mana to recast the Sentry here, they could do it fast enough. But they need to always have enough blockers to block everything we have as well. So Sentry is a 4/4. So Pollen Bright Druid is another creature here. We make the Scavenger a 4/4. Oh my god, so we make the Scavenger a 4/4. That way, no matter what blocks the Scavenger, that creature dies. Whatever what blocks the Wayfinder, that creature dies. Yeah, I think Druid gets us there. I think without Druid, there's a slight chance they can outrace us. But now they have to block everything because they're at 1. And no matter how they block, both of their creatures die. And then we still have 2 creatures on the board. And they scoop them up. We are going to win that game in the end, 3-0 for the double Vraska deck. And a fitting end, Vraska finishing it off for us, getting us those death-touching assassins. Definitely not a fun time for our opponent, but an excellent time for us in the end. That was a wild round. Okay, so here we are in round 4 on the play with some of our excellent 2-mana creatures again, Hybrid and a Wayfinder. I think I'll play Wayfinder first because I don't want to put Hybrid in danger as early, and this does get us a 3-drop. Veiled Shade or Iron Bully would both be good here. Well, let's go Iron Bully. It gets us potentially more damage faster. Throwing a counter onto Wayfinder, just starting to attack with that as a 3/2. Although with Child of Night from our opponent, that is just going to be a trade regardless. So just slam on in. See if we're taking trades here. All right. No trades. I think we just bully onto itself then. Menace is better than Lifelink, but it's not going to matter if they keep gaining life over and over, so I'll just take this trade for the child if they offer it. Keep attacking with the Wayfinder so we can keep some pressure on. So our opponent is on blue, black, and a Vraska's finisher is coming out this turn, a 3/2 that can finish off a creature that's been dealt damage. Alright, so hit for 2, and Hybrid coming on out. We're going to let that finisher just hit us, though. We don't want to trade with Hybrid when Hybrid can be a 6/6 later on. And we're only 2 mana away from a Tidebearer Giant and the ability to upgrade the Hybrid. So a Callous Dismissal, throw that back into our hand, and they amass 1. That is fine to me, because we don't have a good turn 5 play, so we'll just recast it next turn. Considering Blade Branding, just cycling this to draw a card so we can guarantee our next land. And we may have ran out of the time to do it, because now I have to choose between casting a Hybrid or casting the Blade Brand. I probably should have just cycled the Blade Brand, trying to turn it into a land here. But if we don't hit the 6th mana next turn, it's not that bad. We have a lot of stuff on our board, so we're pretty safe at the very least. So our 4th mana from our opponent, and they just send in the squad. All right, let's see what the trick is here. Ritual of Soot, just a board wipe here. 2-for-1 board wipe. Well, we're 1 land away from Tidebearer Giants, which really get us back out of the board wipe. Generous Stray helps us draw that land. Great draw off the top. And even if it doesn't hit the land, the Blade Brand helps get there. So we'll go for that here. Alright, well, we're going to be waiting a little while longer, but that's okay. Now we have a Mammoth Spider and a Beastmaster still to cast, a Vraska as well. Probably just go with the Mammoth Spider. Biggest creature on the board here. Beastmaster would pressure them with more damage, although it can also just get haste later. And having the Mammoth Spider pull the removal is nice. Alright, there's the 6 mana Tidebearer Giant time. And it resolves. We draw the card, slam in for 1 with the Stray again. Our opponent's on 4 mana here, but still not casting anything. Either they're stuck off of a third color, or they just have a hand chocked full of like removal style interaction here. And it looks to be the second, because there's an Obnix's Cruelty on that Tidebearer Giant. As long as we can keep casting cards like Tidebearer Giant that draw us a card when we play them, we're going to be winning this game in the long run, because we're getting a 2-for-1 every time. Their one card is killing our card that gained us a card. That is a lot of just saying card over and over, but I think you get the idea. So Undercity Scavenger can now come out and sacrifice the Mammoth Spider to be a 5/5 and Scry 2. That seems excellent to me. I'm not going to play around a second Wrath of God, but potentially I should. Polymerized Druid actually to proliferate after we have 2 creatures with counters on them is pretty spicy. 3 creatures because Gruul Beastmaster as well. Yeah, we're keeping both of these. Definitely Rhizome Lurcher next turn though. So, again, I'm not going to play around another Wrath from our opponent. Because, I mean, what are the odds they have 2 Wraths, and what are the odds we get Wrath 3 times today? Gates Ablaze, Ritual of Soot, and whatever they would cast here. But it is a distinct possibility. I am a little worried. If they don't have a Wrath, though, everything's lining up very great this game. They have hit their 3rd color now. They are on blue, black, and white, the kind of control color pairs there. Did play against a similar color pair earlier. Deadly Visit it is, so still just 1-for-1 removal from our opponent. This one pretty good though, surveilling 2 when they cast it. So they're setting up their next draw. Throwing those lands into the graveyard. And we'll see if Chillbringer attacks or if it stays to block our Beastmaster. I'd assume it's going to stick around just to block Beastmaster. Keep us from sending in with that. They are down to 15. It would be very aggressive to send in Chillbringer here. And they go for it. All right, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're going to hit them down to 4 life if they cast nothing else here. Do they have a 1-mana removal spell for Beastmaster? Could be Spark Harvest. They'd have to 2-for-1 themselves to do that here. All right, so they're in a rough position. Just in order to cast as much removal as possible, they go ahead and 2-for-1 themselves for the Spark Harvest there. Sacrificing a creature and the Spark Harvest to get in. So I still really don't want to get Wrathed here, but I guess if we get Wrath, we'll still have a Vraska around to make more 1/1s, so still go ahead and get as aggressive as possible. So if they just have, 2 more single targeted removal spells, we're still getting in for a lot of damage. And I guess, 2 more single targeted removal spells would kill our 9/9 and 4/5. We'd only hit for 2 there, so we should still be dumping things out, because it's more likely they have 2 removal spells in hand than 1 Wrath. So, alright. Just a little bit of an anxiety-inducing game there, just being in the Wrath colors, playing against a Wrath early on. Do have to be a little stressed about that, but other than that, a fantastic showing from our deck there. 4-0 now. Pretty much breaking even. We're going to get 1,400 gems and a few packs out of this one, even if we lose every round from now on. So an excellent start. And I am using all of the Premier Draft tokens that we got during the Innistrad Midnight Hunt draft challenges, so it is nice to be able to use those. We're just going to be seeing our gem count go up and up for a little while. Just going for token entries for a bit here in the Ravnica drafts. So turn 2 Soarform Hybrid, always an excellent time. We even have a Vraska later, and Vraska into Undercity Scavenger is very cool. Vraska gives us the expendable creature tokens to sacrifice to the Undercity Scavenger's effect, of course. Now we have a Wayfinder as well. Wayfinder attacks in worse, but we care less if it gets killed. Lets us set up our draws as well. We have 4 mana already, so we could try to hit a 3-mana creature off of it. Yeah, I'll go for the Wayfinder here, see if we see a Generous Stray in our top 4. That'd be cool. We do not, but we do see good cards. Lurcher's a great late game play. It's not going to be good for a while. Taskmaster, somewhat similar. I'm probably just going to play Hybrid next turn, so I'm going to go for Monument here. And we might have a really weird line. We have so many options on turn 4 of what to do. I'm probably going to go with Monument into Vraska into Scavenger. That kind of like maximizes value, but it's also one of the least aggressive lines. Least immediate damage. So our opponent's on blue and red, and they have a Gateway Plaza. That allows them to add a mana of any color. So they could very much be a hyper multicolored controlling deck again. So Scorch Mark we see. Blue, red, and white at least. It could be doing the 5-color control. I do think that control is the most powerful archetype for the 5-color decks in this format because of the various wrath effects available if you get lucky and get a rare wrath, or if you get, say, a Gates Ablaze at uncommon in Ravnica Allegiance. And you also have access to all the best, most efficient removal. Like, I don't think that Rampaging Monument is long for this world. I don't think anything scarier than a 2-1 is. Oh, alright, well, Electrodominance. Ooh, Electrodominance Lava Coil. Double removal, spell them up. Clear our board again. And there's the Ashiok to mill us 20 cards here if it stays around. 4 cards per turn for 5 turns. Which, in Limited, is like almost your whole library. I do think Ashiok is not a super fun card from War of the Spark. I think it's a little bit too balanced for Constructed, where it does need to mill that much to be relevant at all, but in Limited it feels like it just mills too much, too fast. The fact that it mills basically a whole library if you play it halfway through the game. Alright, well, Ashiok's really threatening us. We could Spark Harvest Runaway Steamkin to guarantee that we kill Ashiok, but I think our deck's good enough to find a kill even if it's down to 15 cards. So we'll save the Spark Harvest to kill whatever better creature they play this next turn. Play the Vraska here.
Go ahead.
Start getting our little 1/1s to turn into 2/2s and so on. Chandra's Pyrohelix, 1 to our 1/1 and 1 to Vraska. Alright, Ashiok goes off again. We're down to 15 cards. They have gotten rid of like all our Tithe Bearers. Oh, just one of them, I guess. No, alright. That is literally the only creature. Not literally. That is one of the very few creatures that I could think of that they could play that would make me not able to kill the Ashiok here. I can just Spark Harvest the Ashiok, I guess. We're down to 14 cards. At this point, we kind of have to. Yeah. Mills 8 more cards. We'd have a 6-card library from that point on. They have 1 card in hand, though. Like, we could just jam in and go for it and outrace an Ashiok if we try really hard. But they're still only going to have 2 cards if we kill Ashiok. We just won't have a Spark Harvest anymore. Yeah, let's Spark Harvest the Ashiok. Again, we could have done this earlier, but I liked forcing them to blocks with Steamkin and stuff.
I will lost my happiness.
Like, 14 cards is plenty. 10 cards I start getting a little sketch about. But 14 cards with this hand is plenty to close out a game. Like, they're just on top decks. We have some action here. I think we can definitely close this game out in time if our opponent doesn't have a dramatically more powerful deck than ours. But we'll find out here. So Scorchmark to kill the 1/1. 1 card in their hand. And now the creature's a 3/3 lifelinker that can't block. If we just hold our 3/5 back, that card's been completely blanked now. We just always hold the Mammoth Spider back to just kill that if it ever attacks. So now it can't attack, and if it can't attack, it can't block either, so it does nothing. Ooh, Chillbringer off the top to tap down the Mammoth Spider. I guess it does do something here. They kill one of our creatures. With 2/3 it is. Alright, so Biogenic upgrade firmly closes this game out in the future, but not yet. Scavenger, sack the bully, make the scavenger a 5/5 and set up our draws, then cast a hybrid. Lands on the bottom, creatures on the top. Ooh, they send in 1 card in hand if it's not a counterspell. They're dead, right? 3 counters there. 5, that'd be 10 counters. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Not quite. Guess I'd rather just use hybrid then. Because it won't be lethal either way. Alright, there's an elite guard mage. Gain 3 life and draw a card when they cast it. So if they hold both these back, they can survive. If they don't, can they still survive? Biogenic upgrade 1 on everything. These are both just lethal if they hit. And that would just be 5 power. So yeah, it could be an impressive attack, but can't be... Oh yeah, they can only block one thing. What am I talking about? They can only block one thing. I just slow played my opponent so hard by accident here. And I'm just messing up. I'm giving my opponents a terrible time. Yeah, they can only block one creature. That's definitely lethal. The brain is melting, but the deck remains incredibly powerful. Just gonna be gripping onto this powerful deck for dear life and hope that it carries me through some terrible plays, some slow thinking, and it has so far. 5 wins now, 1,600 gems, and 4 packs. We are very much in the money. I'm having a fine day. Thank you for asking. Having a swell day. So we are now heading into round 6 here. I would like to re-apologize for that earlier round where I did have to go check on the door. It was just a package delivery, so that's why I feel really bad about it. I was like, oh, I better check. Maybe the mechanic's coming in to check on the heater or something, because there's stuff like that'll happen at the apartment complex. So I'm like, oh, better make sure this isn't anything important, and it was not anything important. So now I feel bad. All right. Well, we definitely need a black mana, but Solana Wayfinder lets us dig 4 cards deep to get there. We also need more mana, period, but again, Solana Wayfinder lets us dig 4 cards deep to get there, so the fact that Wayfinder's in this hand is what makes it keepable to me. If that weren't the case, it would be very sketchy. Now we don't even need it, because we have 3 colors and we have our black. We could definitely still use a second black with Deadly Visit in hand, so yeah, Wayfinder, we're going to keep any black mana. But if there isn't that, then we'll just take something good like Tidebearer. But there is black mana, so we're going to keep that. Red, black, and blue from our opponent with an Eternal Taskmaster on turn 2. The 2/3 that comes into play tapped and has the ability to bring creatures back from their graveyard to their hand for 3 mana. And Aven Eternal, the next play, excellent flyer here. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer and a 1/1, just an incredible deal. If you remember, in Innistrad recently, the 3 mana 2/2 flyer that comes with a 2/2 Decayed Zombie, that card's excellent, and this is marginally better because a 1/1 can actually, of course, block or attack multiple times. So, Aven Eternal, very, very nice card here. I could Pollen Bright Druid to be able to Spark Harvest something here. Spark Harvest the Taskmaster. So if the Eternal dies, it doesn't just come back to Taskmaster's ability. I do want creatures engraved for the Lurcher, so sacrificing the Druid to Spark Harvest is cool to me. Make all these 2 power as well. I could do that if I want. don't like attacking with hybrid into the Eternal. And I don't like killing the Eternal if I'm not killing the Taskmaster. So I don't love any play that I have here. I think we got to do something. Let's Pollenbright Druid. Counter on the Wayfinder so it does trade into Eternal still, but it doesn't trade into the 1/1, so I can attack with that. Hoping that they choose to trade into the Eternal so that they can try to get the value off of the Taskmaster. Alright, they don't take the bait, which is definitely smart of them. We will still, I think, Spark Harvest Taskmaster here. I guess if they don't have a creature in the grave, we don't have to yet. Just gonna hold it for later, but I'm also 1 mana away from a Deadly Visit too, so... And this helps trigger, or helps make Rhizome Lurcher bigger. Still gonna go for it. Just get rid of that Taskmaster, not have to deal with that effect. Also, make more use of my cards and mana early on here. Get a little more aggressive with it. Play a little faster. All right. -2 to a creature, and a mass 2. Excellent card. The Bleeding Edge, essentially a 2/2 with a removal spell slapped onto it for only 3. So that is going to put a lot of pressure on us. Their board state is now much better than ours, but Vraska's a fantastic draw here. We can use Vraska to kill their flyer, and then Hybrid Shump blocks the ground troop. That's not great. I guess Vraska's just kind of a 1-for-1 removal spell here. And we'd rather kill the flyer than the ground troop. I guess we could play Rhizome Lurcher and just have a 4/4 out so we can block the ground creature on board. Just take 2 in the sky and try to set up for a later Vraska. It's a hopeful play, but it's probably the best line we have. Alright, well, Artful Takedown was not a good time for us, and we are right back to square one here. Well, we'll play another creature to try to kill that army, but this just might be the great start from the opponent. The great tempo start we just can't come back from here. Oh my god, yeah, it really is. They have the Thunder Drake with the temporary removal spell, but the cheap enough removal spell to cast afterward and get the counter on the Drake. Just an exceptional start from our opponent. Really going to count us out of this round. 5-1 here. Very much a mythic level deck from that mythic player last round. So 5-1 it is. Now in round 7. On the play, Wayfinder, Stray. Pretty cool with me. Expendable early game creatures to make that Rhizome Lurcher better and better. Definitely taking a land here. We have double black already. Let's get our second green. Blue and red from this opponent, and Jaya's Greeting immediately. 3/2 creature and scry 1. That is one thing I am definitely noticing in this format. There is tons of efficient removal in many of the decks that we are running up against. Another blue-red-white deck here, and Leapfrog is the play. Turn 4, we can attack into it with Generous Stray. If they trade, then we'll drop Rhizome Lurcher. I highly doubt they trade. If they don't trade, then we'll drop Undercity Scavenger and have a 5/5 out and scry 2. 5th land we definitely need, and Spark Harvest, great when we have 5 mana. So we will keep those. Vidalcan Mesmerist here, a 2/1 that will shut off our power when it attacks, just -2 power to something. Alright, they can double block here. Cool with me, it's 2 for 1. No blocks though, they're just gonna take that damage to face. Let's get a Mammoth Spider out here so we can block that Leapfrog even if it jumps into the sky. Again, holding on to that Rhizome Lurcher so that it's one of our last plays. It's as big as possible when we do cast it. They do leap that frog into the sky. See if they have the follow-up to kill the spider here. An extra 2 damage it would take. They do. The Skewer the Critics. Well, we have lost a lot of our creatures there, but that means one super great thing. Our Rhizome Lurcher is a big, beefy Rhizome now. A 6/6 for 4 there. And Resolute Watchdog is the play from our opponent. They can sacrifice that to give another one of their creatures indestructible until end of turn, but all of their creatures are pretty expendable at this point in the game, so Watchdog not doing too much for them. We're just going to start getting in with a 6/6 here. And the first attack is a hit. They are down to 8 life, and we'll cast our Tidebearer Giant of 4/5, and we'll draw a card when we cast it. Excellent stuff from Tidebearer Giant, as always. 10th District Guard, a 2/2, giving a creature +0/+1 this turn on the board. Not doing much here against our 4/5. Well, they are still attacking in, so this must be another Skewer the Critics or something. Oh, they can double up the Mesmerist's ability, never mind. They have 2 Mesmerists out, so every time they attack with them, they turn something's power into -4 power total. So Tidebearer Giant actually just a 0/5 on blocks there. Either way, we still definitely have the winning board state here. I'm feeling pretty confident this game. We have 7 mana. We can even cast Spark Harvest and still cast a hybrid, but we really don't need to Spark Harvest anything, so attack in. They're forced into at least 1 block here to lose a creature. They go for the double block so they can sacrifice the Watchdog and only lose 1 creature but stop all the damage. They only have 6 power on the board, so I think I'm just going to cast our Soraform Hybrid and pass the turn, saving our Spark Harvest for a rainy day. Parhelion Patrol is the spell from our opponent this turn, a 2/3 Flying Vigilance Mentor. So it can mentor up creatures with smaller power into better attackers. And they attack all out here, so I'm just going to let them get in. We're going to take 6, go down to 9, but then we're just going to kill Parhelion Patrol, and we've got well over lethal when we do. We actually even have lethal without killing it here, if we just buff the hybrids, so we'll just go for that. Alright, yeah, and they just no blocks, they're just going to take it. So that is 6-1 now. We are 1 victory away from a 7-win run for the Ravnica Mixer Draft here. Pretty basic draft this first time around. Our pod was just very kind to us. We opened a nice Golgari Mythic, and Golgari was well open enough to just keep drafting from that point on. So pretty simple draft to start it out. But I'm sure at least once or twice as we progress with the daily drafts of this format, I may end up playing one of those 5-color control decks that we have run up against. Or certainly at least 3-color stuff. There's pretty much a 0% chance that I don't end up playing at least 3 colors in one of these drafts, just because it's such a big part of this format when you have 3 sets of multicolored cards. So I'm going to mulligan here. Oh, okay. We had a hand with exclusively swamps. We have another hand with exclusively swamps. Not a single castable card in either. I guess... never mind, not any easily castable cards in the first hand, and this one, no castable cards till 3 still. But I am going to go ahead and keep this one. Just hope for the best. I'm not going to mulligan to 5 on the play. when we can at least cast 2 cards in our hand, but this is certainly far from an ideal hand. We'll see how it plays out. Our deck has some powerful cards, and if we draw well, we can always draw into some spicy plays. But this is a very concerning start, to say the least. So we have Iron Bully on turn 3, a 2/2 menace on the board. Our opponent's playing black, red, blue, and green with a Pteramander out. A 1/1 flyer that becomes a 5/5 flyer later in the game. That does cost 8 mana to do so, so it's going to be quite a while before that. Does get cheapened by the number of instants and sorceries in their grave. We're going to cast our Rampaging Monument first, so whenever we're casting our multicolored cards, like our Hybrid Man of Vraska, it will be getting +1/+1 counters. So Aven Eternal is their play after the Pteramander. They have a 2/2 flyer and a 1/1 out now. We will attack with Iron Bully if they want to double block. I will gladly kill one of their flying creatures. They do not block though, so we just hit for 2. And a threat from our opponent. 4 mana for a 4/4. And we're taking 3 in the sky there. Still no green mana, so Vraska's all we can do here. The Hybrid Man of Vraska that will just die as soon as they attack her. But at least we can block well now. We have a 4/4 on the ground, a 1/1 Death Toucher on the ground. We can't really attack well. I could attack with a 4/4 trample and trade it with their 4/4 trample or hit them. But I think I gotta get on the defensive here, because there's like no way we can outrace them at this point. If we attack in, we just trade 4/4s and they're still hitting us for 3 a turn while we're hitting them for 2 a turn, basically. And unfortunately, a Command the Storm from our opponent as well. That will just kill our 4/4 on the spot. They're going to go ahead and slap Vraska for lethal with the flyers. They are considering attacking with the 4/4 trample, but we do have a 1/1 Death Touch on the board. So they have decided against it. Mammoth Spider is our draw. No green source still. Just some tough mulligan decisions this round that may not pay off for us in the end here. Down to 13 now. Luckily that 1/1 Death Toucher from Vraska still paying off, still holding back that 4/4 Trampler. We do hit the green source now. We could cast our other Vraska. All it's going to do is kill one of their cards. A Mammoth Spider effectively kills one of their cards by blocking one of their cards every turn, so I'll just play the Spider first. Makes it more likely Vraska has the defenses needed to stay around a little longer. If they just have a straight removal spell for the Spider, I will cry. But they don't even need a straight removal spell to get rid of Vraska. If we cast Vraska here, we'd cast Vraska, kill the Homunculus, and then they just attack Vraska for 1 with the flyer and still attack us for 2 with the other one.
War is coming. I will not be
so there is a Kazmina, Enigmatic Mentor from our opponent. They can -2 to create a 2/2 wizard, draw a card, and discard a card. And now our spells that target their stuff cost more to cast. Anything we cast to target their creatures or planeswalkers costs 2 more to cast. So if we draw any removal like Deadly Visit or Spark Harvest, it is now out of our reach. It's just too expensive to cast here with only 5 mana on board. Alright, we've got a 6th mana now, so we can get a Tithe-Bearer Giant out here. Mammoth Spider's doing its job. It's putting in work. They didn't attack with anything there. So I think I'm cool to play another Tithe-Bearer Giant then. Or just play another creature then, being the Tithe-Bearer Giant. Their board's really wide, so whenever we play Vraska, she is going to die, but they're likely to have to send a Trump attack in to do it, like send in enough creatures to where some other creatures get killed by our blockers. So I think Vraska is starting to be a good play at this point. Probably killing the Homunculus, but at this point we have to consider killing the Pteramander as well. They have 2 instants in their graveyard, so Pteramander's ability costs... it's got a little 2 on the symbol, so it costs 2 less, so it costs 8 minus 2 costs 6. They have 6 mana out, so Pteramander's going to be a 5/5 flyer, so yeah, we're going to use Vraska to kill their 5/5 flyer. Never mind. They have the counterspell for Vraska, so Terramander's just going to get us. Got the mana to adapt to the Terramander. We have nothing big enough to block it. We're going to go down to 8 life here. We're dead in 2 more attacks from it. Sorry, 7 life. We're dead in 2 more attacks from it. 1 more attack if they just send in the squad next turn, so... We have to draw removal off the top now. We do have the 7 mana now, so we could cast a Deadly Visitor or Spark Harvest, but that is not going to be the removal. That is going to be game. I'll stick around here just in case our opponent does not go for the lethal attack. Maybe they don't do the math here and attack with all 3 flyers, but... Well, I guess we do have 1 more turn. We just have to chump block with Mammoth Spider to survive. Is the thing. So we're, like, functionally dead, but we do get to see 1 more card before we die. Forced into blocking Terramander with Mammoth Spider and taking 5, going down to 2 life, and then they have they have 3 2+ power flyers on board because we're forced into a chump block and not a trade here. Alright, well, 1 final draw from Generous Stray. Anything to counteract these flyers. Just a land for us here. Going to be game. Just too slow of a start off of the mulligan there. Did keep a 1-color hand there, but I did at least mulligan the first one, so you can give me that one in terms of mulliganing. But yeah. The final hand we kept, not going to be ideal there. 6 and 2, heading into the final round, win or lose. It's time for a final boss here. Always a stressful time. The last game of Magic we're playing today, regardless. If we win, we've made it to 7 wins. If we lose, we're out, having graced so close to a perfect run. Not a perfect run. A perfect run would be 7-0, but so close to a maximum value run. A trophy finish, if you will. So even Arena is drumming up the hype here. Gonna have a little bit of wait time before we get into this final round. And here we are with our last opponent in the Ravnica Mixer Draft today. Well, we don't start until turn 3, which isn't ideal. We do have a lot of 2-drops in this deck, so we could potentially draw into 1. But other than that, we have both colors of mana, we have good turn 3 plays, and we have Vraska in the hand, so it's going to be a keep for me, and we do immediately draw the 4th mana. We know we'll be making it to Vraska, if nothing else. Our opponent is on it green and red so far. Turn 3, they drop down a Paradise Druid, a 2/1 with hexproof as long as it's untapped that can tap for a mana of any color. So, pretty great card in this format for the mana fixing. We're going to cast the Veiled Shade there, so we can attack in with it, and if they block, we can buff it up, kill the Paradise Druid, and keep our creature on the board. If we cast Iron Bully instead, we would just have a 2/2 Menace, and they would just never block with Paradise Druid, because they literally don't have the option to. So, now it's possible we can kill their Paradise Druid on an attack. Ooh, Glowspore Shaman is the play from our opponent. They mill 3 when they cast it, and then put a land from their grave on top of their library if they want. They do not put a land on top because they're looking for a black source. They're green, red, and black Jund here. Golgari, Rakdos, and Gruul. So, I'm going to attack with Veiled Shade. We can make it a 4/4 if they block with Shaman. Actually, do I want to Vraska and just kill Paradise Druid, keep them off of black mana, and then have Veiled Shade to block Glowspore if they attack? I think I do. It's somewhat likely that Vraska dies here. If they have any removal, they can just kill Veiled Shade and then kill Vraska. But I think killing the Paradise Druid's pretty good here when they're stuck on black mana. Of course, they do immediately draw the swamp off the top, so that makes that line a bit worse for us, but we can never know what they're going to draw into. And then the Bedeck, the removal that they couldn't cast if they didn't have the black mana.
outmaneuvers.
Alright, so things are still going alright here. It's not the end of the world. They only have a 3-1 out. All we have to do is play one of our multiple 1-1s to block that. So I'll just play the Pollenbright Druid and the Iron Bully. Make the Iron Bully a good attacker, and the Pollenbright Druid is just going to sit here and block the Glowspore Shaman. So our board state is slightly better than theirs, and we have a Deadly Visit in hand to deal with whatever they cast next. Mayhem Devil, is that scary enough to deal with here? Okay, well, we draw into a Spark Harvest, so it absolutely is. We can go ahead and Deadly Visit the Mayhem Devil so that we can set up our future draws by Surveilling 2. I'll take Generous Stray, because Generous Stray is literally a 1-2 plus whatever was the next card anyway. So, pretty great to have the Generous Stray. As long as you have the time and the mana to play with the Stray, it's always good to keep that on top. So, yeah, of course, Spark Harvest was an excellent draw for us, because that allowed us to play the Deadly Visit to clear their board and set up our next draw, as well as still having that backup removal spell, so we don't even really have to think about killing the Mayhem Devil. It's just definitely the play. Alright, so Generous Stray, Solana Wayfinder, see what's coming up. Soarform Hybrid for a 6-6 or Mammoth Spider for a 3-5 reach. We'll take the 6-6. It is going to be slower. We don't have enough mana to play it and adapt it immediately, but it'll be good. I probably should have Spark Harvest Nurturer to stay aggressive and hit for 3 more this turn. Yeah, sacrifice the Pollenbright Druid, I guess. Oh, they have a 2-2 Death Toucher now. That makes the hybrid worse for sure. But our 2-1 and our 3-3 Menace are still pretty good at attacking on this board. So now we don't have to sacrifice a creature to Spark Harvest. I can just pay the full and still cast hybrid. So I think I'm going to kill the 2-4 rather than the Death Toucher, because it gives me good just immediate attacks with what I have on board here. Attack with these two. And then we still have excellent blocks, of course, just having a lot of creatures. And we can slam down a hybrid for another big attacker. That one, though, definitely trading for the Grudian if that sticks around. Alright, a Guild Gate from our opponent. We've still got a great attacking board state here. We can buff the hybrid, so they'll trade hybrid into Grudian, but then everything else can attack, because everything else hits the Shaman for at least 1. So we just can attack with our whole board here, because Grudian is just locked into blocking hybrid. If they want to kill a 1-1 or a 1-2 instead of our hybrid so that they can keep the Grudian around, they are welcome to take the extra 6 for a turn, but alright, that is not the case, so attacking all just gets in an extra couple points of chip damage. Still going to adapt the hybrid because I've got nothing else to cast here, so I might as well. Necrotic Wound from our opponent to kill the Menacer. Alright. Neither player has any cards in hand, but I've got 2 1-1s on the board. They've got nothing else on board. So a top deck war it is, but a top deck war that we have the higher life total and creature count on board. And Rhizome Lurcher, a great draw to start off for us. Priest of Forgotten Gods, a good draw for our opponent, because it can block everything we had on board. However, they can't really use its ability well. They need a lot of creatures to do that. So Rhizome Lurcher, definitely a far better draw so far. But Ceratok, alright, runner. Some excellent draws so far for both players. Lurcher gets in, trades for Ceratok, but then these 1-2s just get walled off by the Priest. So that doesn't accomplish much. We could wait and hope we draw like a Blade Brand or something. That'd be an excellent draw as long as we still have our 5-5. Yeah, there's like a card or two that make me want to keep the 5-5 around for now, rather than cashing it in to kill their 4-5. Oh no. Yep. That's a pretty great follow-up. Okran Assassin, a 1-1 Death Toucher to block our 5-5 so they can keep their 4-5 around. And the Okran Assassin, they can even attack with it, and it forces all of our creatures to block it. So our whole field has to block it, which means that they get to throw their 1 Death Touch damage wherever they want. If they have any combat tricks to give it extra power that they draw off the top, they could even like wipe our whole board with it. So Swarm Guild Mage is our next card off the top. It's not bad, but it's not particularly good here either. Because we're going to lose this Rhizome Lurcher, what we really need is just another beefy creature. Otherwise, their 4/5 is going to start taking over this game. They draw into Severed Strands here, but they choose to sacrifice the Death Toucher and kill the Guild Mage. Interesting, so we get to keep the Lurcher around. Alright, Beastmaster's an excellent draw. Yeah, the only way that they get to kill our Rhizome Lurcher is if they double block. So if they like block this with our Ceratok, like they're taking 8 from Lurcher. Unfortunately, they do just draw into a Herald now. So a 3/2, and when it dies, they amass. We draw into a Generous Stray. These are just some excellent draws all around the board here. This is kind of insane. And Tidebearer Giant? Alright. Okay, now our draws have went from excellent to absurd. Biogenic Upgrade after that with multiple creatures counters on them. And with Beastmaster's ability. Alright. Okay. Arena's got jokes today. So they do have enough creatures to use Priest of Forgotten God's ability to force us to sack a creature, but we have plenty of expendable stuff. So we're just going to upgrade here and do some ridiculous things with a million counters on our board. Just absolutely bonkers attacks here. We're attacking with a 10-10, an 8-8, and a 12-5 now. Biogenic Upgrade has been a real MVP for this deck. Just always a massive finisher. It is a 6-mana spell, though, so that, I mean, that is what you expect out of those level of cards. Alright, so they make big blocks, force us to sack a creature as well. But no killing on our big creatures here. Just in case of a Wrath, I'm going to hold on to the hybrid here. We have well over lethal on board. It is going to take a lot for them to get out of this, and we have 17 life. We've run up against a lot of Wraths today. What is one more? I guess we've only run up against 2 Wraths, technically. Right? Ritual of Soot negates Ablaze. So that's not that bad. 2 Wraths is not a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Maybe I just don't have that great of a recollection of the Ravnica formats. Maybe there just are a lot of Wrath effects in the sets. Definite possibility. Alright, so still playing around with the sacrifice synergies to survive another day. Doom Whisperer. Well, that's big. You know what? I'm just going to play Sore Form Hybrid now. Because I'm starting to get mildly worried they can play enough creatures and then maybe like hit us with Doom Whisperer a couple times. It's immensely unlikely. But still feels more likely than a Wrath. So Erstwhile Trooper. They don't actually have enough black mana to cast the Trooper and the Doom Whisperer. Even if they did, our board state is astronomically monstrous there. So that is going to end today's draft. That will be 7 wins and 2 losses. Sure, it's not the perfect 7-0 run, but I guess I was just trying to maximize the amount of time I got to spend playing Ravnica. We got to play 10 games, the maximum number of games. We've got tons of Guilds of Ravnica packs to open, but I have completed the set, so that is just some more gems to add to the spoils of victory here. But yeah, that is going to end the draft. I hope you all enjoyed the draft. I hope you're all enjoying this format as much as I am as well. If you're interested in seeing some more of these, just stick around on the channel. I'll be doing these Ravnica Mixer Drafts as much as I can, planning on doing them daily as long as the event is out, which is until next Friday. And then they will swap over to the Premier Draft Core Sets events, where we'll be drafting 1 pack of each core set, M19, M20, and M21. So similar to this format in that there's a variety of sets getting drafted there as well. So very excited for that. So if you're interested in these hybrid draft formats, then there will be plenty of videos right here in the near future. So again, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back again soon with some more Magic Arena.